The darkness is not gone when your eyes first open. The cave is still thick with night, or perhaps not night, but the color of stone and the hush of earth. There is no window to confirm the hour, no clock to insist the day has begun. There is only the ache in your bones, the feel of cool air on your bare skin, and the faintest thread of warmth from something still glowing in the ash nearby. It is not silent in the way modern silence. It is full of the soft breathing of those beside you, your kin, your companions, their bodies curled beneath hides and fur, knees drawn in, arms slung loosely over ribs. Someone has dreamt. You can hear it in their quiet whimper deep in sleep. Someone has rolled away from the coals, and now shivers under the hide. Someone else, perhaps the eldest woman, is already awake, but not moving, just listening, just watching. The embers pulse faintly. They are not dead. They never die if you are careful. If you have kept your promise to feed the fire a little. Before sleep, a piece of root, a twist of bark, a breath of pine, the fire remembers. It smolders and waits. And this morning, it waits for you. You do not rise with urgency. There is no alarm. The world you belong to does not demand you be quick. It asks only that you notice. So you lie still, and you notice the dampness of the earth under your woven mat, the rough edge of fur against your cheek, the familiar scent of old smoke and old sweat, of stones warmed by heat, of dried marrow bones stacked in the corner, the slow sound of water dripping far toward the mouth of the cave, not a leak, but a rhythm. The sky has perhaps begun to change. You can't see it, but you feel it. A deepening cool that means the dawn wind is slipping into the entrance, stirring dust and the tips of grasses just outside. You reach toward the fire, fingers brushing the edge of the coals. Still warm. That's good. That means today does not begin with panic. No desperate hunting for dry twigs, no scraping with stone and muscle to coax a single spark. Just a bit of dried moss, some thin bark. You feed it gently, blow into it like whispering a secret, and slowly the orange begins to return. It doesn't flare, it grows, like a memory. Someone stirs behind you. You do not look, not yet. This moment is yours, this moment between sleep and life, between the dreaming world and the waking one. You sit, legs crossed now, hair wild and dry with dust, and you watch the fire live again. The fire is awake now, and so are you. But you do not rise all at once. In the world you live in, there is no rush. The day does not race toward a destination. It unfolds, it stretches, it breathes. You learn to breathe with it. You kneel beside the warmth, shifting one of the heavier stones closer. It has been used many times. You can tell by the way its surface is blackened, cracked faintly with use, smooth where hands have touched it again and again. It holds the heat well. It is part of the rhythm of this place. The cave is no longer silent. The others are waking. One stirs and rubs their face. Another coughs and pulls a hide tighter around their shoulders. A child groans, still in the dream realm, not yet ready to join the world of moving limbs and cold stone. No one speaks. Speech comes slowly later. First comes fire, then comes hunger. You glance at what remains from yesterday. A few withered roots, a bit of dried meat, tough with smoke and hard as bark, a handful of berries shriveled in a woven pouch, darkened by time but still sweet. There is no feast here, not in the way future people would imagine. But there is food. There is enough. And in this world, enough is a powerful word. The old woman begins to hum. Her voice is quiet and rough, like wind brushing the edge of a cliff. It is not a song meant for performance. It is a song meant for memory. You've heard it before countless times. But each morning it feels a little different. Not because she changes the melody, but because you are different. The cave is different. The light is new, and the day has not yet been lived. You chew slowly. Everything is slow here. You do not gulp or devour. There is no concept of multitasking. You eat, and only eat. Your jaw moves with care, and your eyes drift to the flicker of firelight on stone. The meat is tough. But your teeth know this texture. They have known it all your life. You pull a strip apart with your fingers, hands steady, careful not to drop any into the ash. That would be waste, and nothing is wasted here. The others begin to join the circle near the fire. There is no formal seating, just habit, just familiarity. One sits with knees tucked to chest, another lays half reclined, chewing with eyes closed. A child reaches for something without asking, and the gesture is answered with a quiet nudge from their mother. A lesson, a reminder, but not a scolding. Voices still remain low. The light grows at the cave's mouth, a pale hue first, then gold, then amber. The sun is climbing. Though you do not watch it, you feel it in your bones, in the change of air, in the warmth creeping slowly across your feet. You have known the sun not as a thing to look at, but as a companion. It arrives, it stays, it leaves, and you do the same. Someone brings in a fresh haul of moss from outside, not for eating, but for burning, a kind of smoke that repels the biting insects. Another places a carved bowl of water near the fire to warm it for softening root fibers. These are tasks done without being assigned. No one commands. Things are known. Things are done. You reach for a root, gnarled and ridged, thick as a thumb, and begin to scrape it clean with a stone blade. It is not tasty. It is not meant to be. It is meant to fill, to calm, to begin the day's labor with something in your stomach. The roots take effort to chew. You chew them anyway. Someone begins to laugh, not loudly, not suddenly, just a low chuckle from deep in the throat, the kind that rumbles and spreads without intent. A child follows it, then another, and soon, for a moment, the cave is not silent. It is full, not with noise, but with presence, with life, with warmth not from fire, but from nearness. Then the laughter fades. The eating slows, the scraping finishes. You wipe your hands on the inside of a fur hide and stretch your back until it pops. The cave smells of meat and smoke and moss and breath. It is not clean, not in the way that word will someday be used, but it is known. It is home. The meal is over, though nothing was called a meal. There were no plates, no spoons, no cloth napkins, no schedule, just fire and food, and the ones who share it. You rise slowly, not because you are tired, but because rising is part of the rhythm. Today will require movement. Tools must be sharpened, nets repaired, wood gathered, water fetched, and perhaps, if the season allows, a hunt. But none of that happens yet, not until the coals are stirred once more, not until someone clears the bones from the circle. Not until you stand in the light of the cave's mouth, stretch your arms wide, to greet the air and feel fully that you are alive, that you are here, and that the fire inside you is as real as the one behind you. There is no moment in your world where something does not need to be made. To live is to shape. To survive is to notice, to feel the weight of stone in your palm and understand whether it is right. To know the sound of a twig snapping and hear if it is dry enough to burn, to look at a strip of sinew and see a future line, taut and strong for binding or catching. And so the morning settles into this slow, familiar ritual, the making of tools. There is no word for tools in your world, no category for them, no separation. The sharp rock, the carved bone, the twisted thread, these are not things you use. They are part of your body. Your fingers reach for them as naturally as they reach for your own hair. They are extensions of the self, not accessories. Woman checks the curve of a fishing hook carved from horn. She has done this more times than you have walked to the river and back. Her fingers are stiff, but certain. Nearby, a younger girl sorts through a pile of bones, picking those with the right thickness, the right curve, the right promise. She is learning, but she does not ask questions aloud. She watches, she tries. She learns in the way that trees learn to reach toward light, slowly by doing. The air is filled not with speech, but with sound, click, crack, scratch, the occasional puff of breath to clear dust from a groove. You begin working a piece of antler now smooth, hard, and stubborn. You scrape at it with your newly flaked stone, narrowing it to a point. It will take time. Many mornings have passed like this, many more will. But that's the point. The patience is the life. Each groove you carve is a mark of survival. Each twist of cord is a step between you and hunger, between your child and cold. These are not luxuries. These are lifelines. A child runs past barefoot, half-dressed, hair wild, laughing without reason. He is carrying a stick and calling it a spear. It is not a real one, but it is real to him. The rhythm of your scraping doesn't pause, but your eyes follow him a moment. He will learn like you. He will shape like you one day, but not today. Your tool is ready enough now. It is not perfect, but perfection is a myth you never learned. What matters is that it works, that it helps, that it endures. You stand, stretch your legs, and walk toward the fire to warm the shaft and smoke. The resin will soften with heat. The binding will hold better. These things are not taught with words. They are remembered in hands, passed like songs without lyrics. By midday, the circle of the camp will be littered with signs of making, shavings of wood, curled bark, thin strips of sinew drying on stones, bone dust caught in creases of skin. But for now the work continues. You sit again, pick up another stone, feel its weight. Listen. Begin. There were no forecasts in the world you knew, no predictions, no warnings scrolling across the bottom of a screen. The sky did not explain itself. The clouds did not ask permission. They came when they came, and still you always knew. You read it in the air, in the pressure behind your ears, in the smell of the grass just before rain, in the way birds fell silent or how insects vanished into stillness. The world spoke, just not in words, and you listened. Weather was not a background for your life. It was a participant, a power, a presence that shaped the edges of every day. When the wind was soft and from the south, you knew it might be a day for travel. When it howled through the valley and tugged at the edges of the fire, it was time to stay close. Huddle, men, wake up. Today, the sky is pale but not cold. The air has that damp, swollen smell of earth that's been fed all night by rain. It didn't storm, not quite, but the steady dripping at the edge of the cave was like a second breath beneath your own. The stones are slick outside, moss clings to every shadow. The cave mouth is rimmed with puddles that reflect the sky, dull gray and slow-moving. You step into it barefoot. Your soul's hardened from many mornings like this. The cold creeps up your legs. Not in a rush, but in a soft, spreading bloom. It reminds you to move with care. The light is strange today, filtered, greenish, softened by the mist rising from the earth. Everything looks closer in the fog, but also quieter. Sounds don't travel as far. The voices of your companions are swallowed in it. A child laughs nearby, but the sound feels like it's wrapped in wool. The birds, too, are cautious. One chirps, but only once, as if uncertain. You look toward the trees. You always do. The trees tell you more than the sky ever could. Are they stiff with wind? Are their leaves trembling with warning? Are their trunks wet far up the sides, meaning the rains were strong and sudden? Or is there stillness to still, the kind that comes before something breaks? This is how you know what kind of day it will be, not by hour or date, but by how the world feels under your skin. In winter moons, the wind was sharper. It bit through fur. It found the gaps and shelters. It pressed you inward, closer to the fire, closer to others. In those seasons, the world grew narrow, food grew scarce. You watched the shadows grow longer earlier in the day. The air took on a scent like wood ash and dry bark. But now it is the warm season, the forgiving one, the time when the river is full and the fish are fat, and roots pull sweetly from the soil. But even then, you never trust the weather too far. It is a friend with moods, a parent with no face, a god with no name. The clouds shift above, not fast, just enough to remind you that this moment, like every other, is changing already. Sun is trying to break through the mist. You feel it more than see it, the way the cold lifts slightly from your arms, the way a single ray touches the back of your neck and stays. Others have emerged now quietly. One carries a bundle of damp herbs, fragrant and dark, hung to dry near the coals. Another examines the sky, lips pressed tight, head tilted as if the sky might answer if you just tilt your own just right. They do not speak, not yet. There is no need to discuss what you all feel. The weather tells everyone the same truth. You just hear it in different ways. You step out further. The ground is muddy, but not soft enough to steal your feet. You walk carefully to the flat stones near the edge of the clearing and crouch. This is where you often come to think. There is nothing special about the stones, but they hold heat long into the day. In the warm moons, they are good for drying things neat, leaves, hides. In the wet moons, they are good for crouching without soaking yourself. Now they are simply cool and smooth, and you sit there watching the mist roll. You remember last year's storm, how the cave nearly flooded, how 3 of the hides were ruined, soaked and rotting. You remember how the fires smoked for 3 days, and how your throat hurt from the damp, and still you were warm enough. You had survived. The children had survived. The roots lasted long enough. The fish dried just in time. And so you remember, not with fear, but with weight, the kind of weight that makes you grateful, even for a sky that can't decide what it wants. Back in the cave, someone is preparing to travel. You hear the clatter of stone against stone as tools are packed into a sling. You hear fur being folded, soft hands patting down a bundle tight. They are going toward the forest to check the traps, perhaps to follow a trail. The weather today allows it, barely, but not for long. You glance again toward the horizon. There is a line now where mist ends and sky begins. That means change. That means the day is beginning to unfold. There is no calendar in your world, no clock to tick away minutes, but you do not need them. The weather is your clock. The birds are your calendar. The feel of your own body against the wind is more reliable than any number scratched on bark. And so you rise slowly, shake the dew from your legs, gather a handful of moss from the side of a stone, press it between your fingers, and breathe in its scent. This is how you know the morning has passed. This is how you know it is time to begin again. You walk toward the trees, and the day walks with you. The trees do not speak in words, and neither does the river, but both have voices if you know how to listen. And you do. You always have. The forest is still damp beneath your feet, though the mist is beginning to lift. The path is not marked. It has no name. It is not a road, but your body remembers it. Your steps are silent, practiced. You walk not because you are rushing anywhere, but because your day leads you this way. Because the river waits, not for you specifically, it waits for everything. It is always waiting. You do not see it at first. You hear it, the soft, rolling hush of moving water, sometimes louder, sometimes gentler, always speaking in that same patient rhythm. Not cover all of you. It never has, but you know where to tuck your feet, how to press your arms in close to hold the heat. Your eyes are open, though sleep pulls at you. You watch the firelight dance across the cave ceiling. It flickers across carvings, lines etched by hands long gone. Some are shapes you understand, antlers, fish, hands pressed in ochre. Others you do not, spirals, patterns, marks that once meant something to someone. You do not need to know what they meant. You feel their presence. That is enough. Above, the cave ceiling disappears into darkness. You do not fear it. Darkness is not your enemy. It is simply the other half of the world, the part that teaches you to see with your ears, your skin, your breath. You let your eyes close. There is no sharp drop into sleep. You drift, as you always do, slowly. Your body remains aware even as your mind begins to slip. You feel your lens still curled. You feel the fur against your cheek. You hear the last soft crackle of the fire and the breath of the person nearest to you. You know where they are without touching them. In this world, sleep is not escape. It is return. You go not away from life, but deeper into it. Sometimes in dreams, you see the river again, or the stars, or the face of someone no longer here. Dreams are not stories. They are echoes. They move without shape, without sequence. You do not try to hold them. You simply follow. And if you wake in the night, you do not panic. You lie still. You breathe. You listen to the earth. The cave wraps around you like a second skin. Rain may fall outside. Wind may stir the trees. An owl may call from the dark. These sounds do not disturb you. They tell you that the world continues even when your eyes are closed. There is no tomorrow in your thoughts, no calendar in your chest. You sleep because your body asked it of you. You rest because you have shaped and carried and watched and walked. And now you let go. The fur grows warm from your breath. The fire fades into memory. The breath of the cave becomes your lullaby. And sleep takes you not away, but inward, deep into the stone. Deep into the self, deep into the rhythm that carries all things. You do not wake all at once. No sharp alarm breaks the silence. No sudden burst of light strikes your eyes. Instead, you rise as the world rises slowly, with hesitation, as though the very air is reluctant to let go of sleep. There is light now, not in the cave itself, but somewhere beyond. A thin thread of it stretches across the mouth of the shutter, just enough to turn the shadows to blue. The fire has gone quiet, but not dead. A faint line of heat lingers beneath the ash. It will be enough to wake again later, but not yet. Your body stirs before your mind. Legs move, arms curl inward, then stretch. Your back creaks softly. You shift beneath the fur, pushing it aside with one hand, and sit up. Your breath is visible in the air, misting briefly before fading. You draw in a deep, slow breath, and release it just as slowly. Nothing hurts, nothing rushes. The others begin to move too. One child turns in their sleep, another scratches at their hair, eyes still closed, a soft cough, a murmured sound, but no voices yet. Words come later. The first part of the morning belongs to motion. You stand. The stone floor is cold, but your feet know it well. You step lightly across the dust, past curled limbs and scattered hides, toward the light. The air near the cave mouth is different, cooler, sharper, carrying the scent of wet grass and open wind. You pass into it like passing through a veil. Outside, the world is awake, not loudly, not fully, but enough. The trees are gray-blue in the early light, their tops lost in the morning mist. Dew clings to every surface, leaves, stones, the tips of grass. A spiderweb glistens between two branches, caught in the golden beginnings of sunlight. Far in the distance, a bird calls once, then goes quiet again. The sound echoes, as though the forest is still thinking. You walk out into it slowly. No destination, just movement. Just being with the world as it opens. Your path winds gently through tall grass and small ferns. You brush them aside with the backs of your hands, careful not to snap them unless you need to. The forest is not a place you conquer, it is a place you borrow. You step softly because you are not the only one who lives here. You pause beside a tree, one you know well. Its bark is split low along one side like a scar. Your hand finds that place easily, rests there for a moment. It is rough, but warm in its own way. You lean your weight into it, just briefly, as if saying good morning to something older than words above you. Light continues to filter down, a soft, golden hush. The kind of light that touches, not floods. It falls across your shoulders, glances off your skin, lingers in your hair. You do not look up to find the sun. You simply feel where it is by the way the forest begins to change, every moment a little brighter, every second a little more defined. You crouch to examine something near your foot. A cluster of mushrooms, new since yesterday, pale, delicate. You do not pick them, not these. They are not food, but they are part of the story the forest tells, and so you note them. You remember them. A small stream murmurs nearby. You turn toward it without thinking. Your body knows the sound like it knows your own breath. You push through a stand of reeds and find it thin, winding, clear. The water moves slowly over stones, catching bits of light, pulling leaves along like tiny boats. You squat beside it and dip your hands in. The chill bites your fingers, but you welcome it. You drink, you splash your face. You watch the ripples vanish upward. Behind you, someone else arrives, quiet footsteps on moss, the whisper of hide against grass. Do not turn. You do not need to. Their presence is familiar. You share the moment without speaking. The two of you stay there, just breathing. The forest breathes with you. Birds begin again, now more boldly. A call here, a song there. The wind rises slightly and sets the branches dancing above. Drops fall from leaves like tiny bells. Everything shimmers. Everything is slow. In the future, people will speak of nature as something separate, but you do not know this idea. You do not walk through the forest. You are in it, of it. The light beyond the trees does not just show you where you are. It shows you who you are. You rise again and begin to walk deeper into the green, into the hush, into the slow rhythm of leaves and limbs and light. The trees do not speak in your language, but still they speak, and you listen. Always, you listen. You don't think of hunger as a sudden thing. It doesn't snap into your belly like a sharp pain or shout into your head like a demand. It begins quietly, as most things do in your world, a lightness in your limbs. A longer pause after each step, a wandering of thought toward smell, toward memory, toward the curl of roasted root or the smoky taste of dried fish. It's not discomfort, not yet. It's a change, a soft awakening of need. By now the forest is alive in its quiet way. Birds shift from branch to branch, unseen but heard. Insects dance in pockets of sun between the trees. The stream behind you hums its steady tune. And all around you, the land is offering things. If you know how to look, and you do, you crouch near the base of a tree, parting the leaf litter with your fingers. Your hands are skilled in this, not hurried, not clumsy. You move gently, the way a mother lifts a sleeping child. Beneath the fallen leaves, the earth is dark and soft. You pull aside a clump of moss and see what you hope for, a thick, knotted root, firm in the soil. You dig with your fingers quietly, patiently loosening the dirt around it, then tug it free. It smells faintly bitter, alive. You tap the clinging earth from it and place it in the pouch at your side. Not your first, not your last. The land has given again. Others nearby are doing the same. No one speaks. No one needs to. You all know the rhythm of gathering. There's no shame in need. Hunger is not a failure. It is a rhythm, like sleep, like breath, like fire. A woman moves slowly along the creek's edge, her eyes scanning the reeds for shoots. Another gently shakes a bush heavy with berries, not to strip it, not to take it all, but to let a few fall. Only what is needed, only what can be carried. You are never alone in hunger. You are never greedy. Because you have seen what comes when hands take too much. You have seen what happens when the land is emptied faster than it can forgive. There is a kind of beauty in the slowness. You pluck a handful of wild leaves, their edges soft, their scent sharp. They will go bitter in heat, but eaten raw, they wake the tongue, a reminder that food is not only for fullness but for memory, for taste, for knowing where you are in the season. Your lips, you drink some of it, not because you are thirsty, but because drinking the river is part of knowing it. It is part of remembering that you belong here. Around you life is quiet but near. A frog shifts just beyond the grass. A bird hops along the shore, looking for insects. The wind runs its fingers through the rushes. You close your eyes and let your other senses open. How the breeze smells of moss and wet bark. How the water carries the sound of stones shifting underneath. How the river's voice changes slightly with every bend. There is no mirror in your world, but here you can see yourself. not in sharp reflection, but in movement. In shadow, you see your hands, your arms, your hair floating loose around your shoulders. You see the way your shape ripples with the water. You are not defined by lines here. You are not framed by glass. You are part of the surface. And the river keeps your image only for a moment before releasing it again. You move slowly, walking. Along the edge, your feet sink slightly into the mud. You pause to inspect a set of tracks, a deer, most likely fresh. The hooves are crisp. You run your finger along one. You do not need to hunt it, not now. But it is good to know who has passed. Good to know you are not alone. At a shallow bend, you kneel again and gather stones. Smooth ones, light-colored. These will be used later for grinding roots or heating in the fire, or perhaps even for marking the edge of the sleeping space. You do not know yet, but you take them. You carry them. Their purpose will reveal itself. In time. You clean your hands in the water again. Rub your arms where the mud splashed. The river does not mind. It has seen every version of you. The clean, the tired, the hungry, the full, the sick, the strong. It carries all yourselves without judgment. You step into the shallows now, up to your calves. The cold rises into your bones. But you welcome it. You crouch and scrub your legs, your hands, your neck. You rinse your hair. You watch the dirt float away. You become new again, not entirely, not perfectly, but just enough to begin again. Just enough to walk back to the cave with something clean in your spirit. A fish darts by your ankle. You do not try to catch it, not now. This is not a hunting moment. This is a breathing one. There is a time for every kind of silence, and today, the river's silence is sacred. You step out again, skin wet, hair dripping. You do not rush to dry. The sun is higher now. Its warmth finds your back through the trees. You tilt your face to it, just for a few breaths. You remember how it feels to be warmed not by fire, but by the sky itself. You pick up your bundle of stones, brush moss from your feet, and turn away. The river does not call after you. It does not cling. It does not end. You leave it as you found it, flowing, steady, ancient. And though your back is to it now, you know it still knows your name. Evening does not arrive suddenly in your world. It does not flicker into being with the flip of a switch. It unfolds slowly, like a soft blanket being drawn over the land. The light grows longer, thinner, and more golden. Shadows stretch themselves quietly. The wind shifts, and the birds grow. Still, the air changes not just in temperature, but in tone. The sounds around you begin to soften. The world lowers its voice. You have returned to the cave now, stones in your sling. Hair still damp from the river, skin carrying the scent of water and wood. The others are already gathered or arriving in waves, drawn by the same invisible pull that brings you here. It is not something you discuss. You do not ask, shall we sit? You simply do. The fire is already glowing again, fed slowly throughout the day by those who stayed near. Someone has coaxed it back to life with care. It remembers the morning, and now it welcomes the night. You lower yourself into the circle. There is no leader. There is no beginning or end. There is only the shape that forms when people draw close, not out of necessity, but out of knowing that closeness itself is a kind of safety, a kind of warmth no fire can give on its own. There is no feast, but there is food, simple, quiet things. Roasted root, dried meat softened by the fire, a handful of bitter leaves wrapped in bark. One by one, each person adds something, not because they were told to, but because it is understood. This is how evenings begin. You chew in silence. The heat from the fire seeps into your limbs. It is not hot. It is not fierce. It is steady, deep, old. The kind of heat that sinks into your bones and makes them remember. No one speaks at first. The silence is not awkward. It is not empty. It is full of listening, listening to the pop of bark in the flames, listening to the small shufflings of people shifting position, listening to your own breath as it slows with the dark. A child leans into a mother's side. An older man shifts closer to the fire, offering his palms to the glow. Someone feeds a scrap of bark into the flame, not because it is needed, but because the motion feels right. Then slowly the voices begin, not loudly, not all at once, a quiet sentence, a memory, a sound more than a story. A woman recalls the deer seen near the hill 2 nights ago. A boy retells the moment he fell in the river and lost his fish. Laughter follows, not sharp, but soft like wind through dry grass. It is not a performance. There are no audiences here, only listeners. You do not speak yet, you listen. You watch the faces across the fire, glowing orange, flickering in the shadows. They are marked with soot, with sun, with time, and still you know them. You have always known them, not because you studied their features, but because you have lived beside them for so long that their breath is part of your rhythm. The fire crackles again. Someone begins a story, a real one now. A story that is older than anyone here, a tale of a woman who turned into a wolf, of a child who was raised by the stars, of the cave spirit who watches the fire and must always be fed first. The voice is quiet and the story is not told in haste. There are pauses, silences, gaps, but no one fills them. They are part of the tale. You close your eyes not to sleep, but to listen better, to feel the rhythm of the voice, the rise and fall, the music of words that have no written shape. You have heard the story before, but each time it feels different. The fire tells it too. The air around you shifts with every telling. The flames move in time with the breath of the speaker. The shadows lean in. You open your eyes again and watch the sparks rise. One, then another. They drift up like tiny stars, then vanish before they reach the cave's dark ceiling. You wonder where they go. You wonder if they carry the stories with them, if the smoke knows all the tales ever told and carries them into the night. The story ends, but no one claps, no one praises. The moment simply settles. The fire accepts it, the people absorb it, and silence returns not as an absence, but as a fullness, a warmth that lingers. You lean back against the wall of the cave, for pressed to stone, and watch the fire through half-closed eyes. Someone hums, not a tune you recognize, but a pattern, a pulse, a lull, the kind of sound that quiets the mind and softens the bones. Around you, others begin to drift. One by one, they lie back, stretch, wrap themselves in hides, close their eyes. You stay a little longer, watching, listening, not to anything specific, but to the shape of night itself. The fire crackles, the wind shifts outside, the world narrows, and you let it. The fire circle breathes, and so do you. Sleep in your world does not arrive with a screen gone black or the hush of distant traffic. There is no soft hum of machines or glow of numbers beside your head. There is no mattress, no pillow, no linen drawn tight by corners. Sleep comes like a tide rising, folding around you, tugging gently at your limbs until you are part of it. The fire has dimmed. Its breath is slower now. The coals pulse red and orange. In the dark, like the heart of the cave itself, the smoke curls upward in thin, silent ribbons, barely visible. But there, you can feel its warmth on your cheeks. Though farther ahead, someone finds an egg in a low nest, small, pale, unbroken. They lift it gently, turn it in their hand. Their face is unreadable. Perhaps they will take it. Perhaps they will not. A choice is being weighed. Even in this there is no hurry. You sit a while in the clearing, pouch half full. The air is warm now, but not hot. A breeze slides through the tall grass, bringing with it the scent of crushed nettle, of damp bark. You run your fingers through the pile in your lap, roots, herbs, free small mushrooms with dust still clinging to them. Enough. It is always enough. You do not think of meals as events. They are not planned or plated. They do not come with time or structure. They come with rhythm, with readiness. You eat when the fire is right, when the group is gathered, when there is enough warmth in the day to rest for a moment. And yet, sometimes like now, you take a taste, just a small one. You pull one of the leaves from your pouch and bring it to your mouth. You chew slowly. It is bitter, as expected, sharp, green, alive. Your body welcomes it. In the branches above, a bird watches you. Its feathers are gray, its eyes black. You do not move. You watch back. For a long moment. Neither of you flinch. There is no fear between you, no threat. Just shared space. Then it flutters off, soundless but certain. The forest accepts your presence today. That much is clear. There are days when it does not, when every root is dry, when every track vanishes before you can read it, when the birds scream warning, and the insects vanish, and your body tells you to return. But not today. Today, the land has fed you. Today, hunger has not sharpened into pain. Today, you return with your pouch filled, your fingers earth-stained, your breath steady. You begin to walk back, and the forest, never loud, never watching, seems to make a path for you. The walk back to the cave is not long, but you do not measure in steps or minutes. You measure it by the shift in light between trees, by the way your pouch swings a little heavier at your side, by the feel of earth drying on your palms. There is no urgency. The forest has done its part. Now it is your turn to carry what it gave. The cave mouth comes into view, half-shadowed, warm with flickering light. Smoke curls upward in a lazy thread. Someone has already stirred the fire. It waits, not impatiently, not hungrily, but as part of the rhythm. It always waits. You step into the shelter and feel the shift in air, cool outside, warm within. The fire greets your skin before anything else. That gentle, radiant heat, not the biting heat of sun or the sharp edge of open flame, but a steady breath of warmth that wraps itself around your legs and hands, reminding you where you are, that you've come home. You settle near the edge of the circle, loosening the sling from your shoulder, laying out what you've brought. One by one, the items leave your hand: the long root with its curling tip, the waxy leaves, the small mushrooms with their pale undersides, still smelling of damp bark. You do not display them with pride, but with care. They are not trophies. They are offerings. Others have returned too. Someone empties their pouch, and a handful of berries tumble out, their skins already bruised but still sweet. Another carefully unwraps fish caught in the shallows, still whole, their eyes wide, their scales dulled by travel. A third cradles a cracked stone bowl filled with tiny seeds collected one by one, with the kind of patience that can only exist when you know time is not your enemy. The fire does not grow louder. It does not change, but it seems to notice. You feel it. It knows what comes next. There is no kitchen in your world, no table, no utensils arranged in rows. But there is order. There is memory. There is knowledge passed by watching, by repetition, by hands and eyes and breath. You know how to make food ready, not as a task, but as a continuation. You peel the root with your fingers, sliding the outer skin away in long, curling strips. It's rough at first, but underneath, the flesh is white and wet. You slice it with a sharp flint, slowly, carefully, letting the pieces fall into a hollowed stone. Someone adds water, another places it near the edge of the fire, not too close. Let the heat creep in. Let it do its work without force. The fish are cleaned nearby. Not all at once, not quickly. Someone slices. Someone sprinkles crushed leaves into the slit belly. Someone threads them onto a stick to rest over the flame. The smell rises slowly: smoke, salt, flesh. It's not rich. It's not heavy. But it is real. You can feel it in your chest before it reaches your tongue. Children gather nearby, their eyes bright, but their mouths quiet. They know better than to ask. They wait. This is not a feast in the way people will one day imagine feasts, with tables overflowing and noise spilling into the air. This is a feast in stillness, a feast of presence. The food is ready when it is ready. That's all. You sit in a loose circle, not in rows, not in ranks. You pass what you have. Fingers take a break, return. Everyone eats, not all at once, not hurried. The heat of the food seeps into you, just like the fire. You chew slowly. You breathe between bites. You do not speak with your mouth full, not because someone told you not to, but because the act itself demands attention. Eating is not distraction. It is communion. A young child hands you a leaf-wrapped portion. Their fingers are sticky. Their smile is small but sure. You take it with a nod. That is enough. That is all that's needed. You do not eat until you are full. You eat until the edge of hunger softens, until the sharpness dulls, until your limbs feel steady again. Food is not something to be hoarded. It is a cycle. It always comes back if you honor it. Someone hums again, a slow rhythm, wordless, familiar. The fire pops, sends sparks upward like a brief constellation. You look around the circle and see only faces, not masked, not hidden, but bare in the glow, each one changed by the day, but still known. After the food, the coals are stirred, ash is brushed aside, a new log is added, the fire welcomes it. You lean back, wipe your hands on the edge of your hide, and let your breath deepen. There is a heaviness in your bones now, not from tiredness, but from peace, from having moved and gathered and shared and been fed, the kind of heaviness that settles deep in your chest and says, "This is enough." You watch the fire as it carries the scent of food upward. You hear the soft breathing of those around you, and for a while, you don't move. You just stay, fed, warm, whole, in your world. Learning is not a task. It is not a separate place with walls and benches and questions. It is not a lesson delivered from one who holds knowledge to one who waits to receive it. Learning is not spoken about. It simply happens. And it happens everywhere. There is no school in the cave, yet every day is a classroom, not of speech, but of hands. A child watches their mother scrape bark from a tree, not just once, but many times. Not with explanation, not with ceremony, just with motion. The same motion each day. One hand holds the bark steady, the other peels in long, even strips. The child mimics the movement later with a stick, fumbling at first, getting splinters, but they keep trying. There are no corrections, no sharp rebukes. The learning happens not by being told what is wrong, but by learning what feels right. A young boy watches his uncle sharpen a spear point. The rhythm is calm, precise. Scrape, turn, scrape again. The boy tries it later, the angle wrong, the pressure too soft. His point crumbles. He looks to the older man, who simply nods and hands him another stone. No words, just do it again. Knowledge lives in repetition, in quiet, in proximity. You do not ask, "What are you doing?" You watch, you feel, you try, you fail, and then you try again. Not, "The meat is ready." She understands. No sound passed between you, but the message moved like water. A child lifts their hands and brings them down in an open fan over their lap, asking for a story. Not with words, but with motion, a slow, wide movement that mimics the sun setting behind hills. You've seen this before. You smile, the others see it too. One of the elders begins, not with speech, but with presence. They lean forward. Draw a line through the ash with a stick, curved, then straight, then looped. They draw a second line, then a third. A figure begins to form, not detailed, not exact, but enough. Everyone watches. The story unfolds in symbols. Then comes the breath, sharp, slow, like a gasp, followed by a wave of the hand, a storm, river, a fall, then two palms pressed together, opened like a flower. Sunlight, return, safety. No words, still, you feel it. This is how you know the world, even before you know how to name it. Language in your world lives in the body, in how someone stands, in how far they sit from you, in whether they share food or hand you a tool handle first, or meet your eyes when they pass. It is all language. It is all communication. It is all understood. Sometimes two people can sit side by side for hours and not speak once, not gesture, not move, and still something is said, that I am here, that you are not alone, that the world is full and we are inside it together. The night deepens, the fire dims, someone hums not a melody, just a pattern of sound, a rhythm, a breath with shape. It moves around the circle like smoke. The youngest child sways gently, eyes half closed. An older boy taps one finger against his knee. A woman closes her eyes and smiles. All of them are speaking, all of them are answering. You place your hand gently on the shoulder beside you. You do not squeeze, you do not pull. Just the weight of your palm resting there. That is enough. They place their hand over yours. That is more than enough. There will come a time far from now when words will grow thick and fast, when speech will fill the air like wind through tall grass, but even then, this language will remain, in the way someone waits before answering, in how they bow their head when you pass, in silence that holds meaning, and quiet that is not empty. You shift your body, curl beneath your hide, and close your eyes. No one says good night, but you feel it all the same in the heat of the fire, in the closeness of breath, in the softest brush of air as someone passes. You understand, and you are understood. Without a word. Winter does not arrive all at once. It creeps in, first as a chill in the morning air, a bite at the fingers when you reach for water, then as silence deep, wide, and strange. The birds grow quiet, the frogs vanish. The insects no longer hum in the shadows. Even the wind, which once moved through the trees with ease, seems to hang heavier now, dragging its feet through the underbrush. Your body knows before your mind does. The fur is pulled tighter at night. You sleep closer to the fire. You chew your food slower, not by choice, but because it's harder now, drier, stored too long. Still enough, but only just. The cold moon has returned. That's what you call this season, not winter, not January, not anything with numbers or fixed names. Just the cold moon. The moon that rises higher, whiter, sharper. The one that shines. Brighter not because it grows stronger, but because the dark on it grows deeper. The cave is different now. Still full, still warm in places, but quieter, hushed in a way that suggests waiting. There are fewer outings into the forest. Fewer hands returning with bundles of green or berries or fish still wet from the stream. The earth has pulled its gifts back for a while. It does this every year. You do not blame it, and so you huddle, you prepare, you remember. The furs are thickest now, piled against the walls, draped over shoulders, folded around sleeping bodies like layers of bark. The smoke from the fire does not rise as quickly, hangs close to the ceiling, making the stone darker, blacker. You cough more often. So do the children, but it passes. It always does. Food is rationed without being spoken of as such. A root sliced thinner, a fish stretched further. No one says there is less, but everyone knows, and still there is enough, because there must be. You pass your time differently now. There is no soil to dig, no long foraging walks. So you repair what you can, a basket frayed from use, a sling worn thin, a hide that has cracked at the edges. You work with your hands slow and steady beside the fire, and you let the cold stay outside. Sometimes someone tells a story, not always with voice, sometimes with hands, with painted lines on the cave wall, with the drawing of a stick through ash, tales of long ago hunts or spirits that guard the mountain pass, or ancestors who became stars. The children listen wide-eyed, not to escape the cold, but to shape it, to give it meaning, to survive it with imagination. Sleep comes early in the cold moon, not because the day is done, but because the fire feels heavier, the air darker, and the body begs for stillness. You rest with the others, curled close, braid of breath and skin and hide. You dream often now, dreams of warmth, of growing things, of sound. Dreams where the wind does not steal your breath, and where the light returns stronger than before. And always, through it all, the fire burns, small some nights, larger on others, but always there. Someone is always watching it, feeding it bark, or coal, or whatever can be spared. Even in the deepest dark, the fire never sleeps alone. You wake some nights and see it still glowing, and you know it has not forgotten you. It is still yours. It is still alive. That is the promise. Not that the cold won't come, not that food won't run thin, not that life won't tighten, but that the fire remains, that the cold moon will pass, that warmth will return, and you will be here to see it. It does not come all at once. It never does. The green returns slowly like a whisper, first as a scent faint, but undeniable, a sweetness hidden in the still cold air, then as moisture soaked into the edges of the cave floor, clinging to the fur near the entrance, collecting in the seams of bark and stone. Then one day as color, tiny blades of grass, curled and trembling, push through the crust of old frost. Buds form on the ends of twigs that looked dead only days before. Water flows differently now, not slow and heavy as it did in the cold moon, but eager, laughing, almost playful in its way. You rise that morning not because someone calls you, but because something in your body shifts. Something opens. It is still cold, yes, but not the old cold. This one doesn't settle in the bones. This one merely brushes the skin and pauses. You stand at the cave mouth and draw in a breath, long and deep. It smells of wet earth, of something waking. Others feel it too. You see it in the way they move, not faster, not louder, but lighter. A young child dances in the dust with bare feet, though the ground is still cold. An older woman hums again while stacking kindling. No song you know, maybe no song at all, just sound pulled from a place within that remembers how warmth felt. You step into the open air. The world does not look new, not yet, but it feels ready. You crouch low and brush your fingers along the ground. The mud is softer now, less stubborn. You press a thumb into the earth and see water rise to the surface, then sink again. The trees are still bare, but they no longer seem dead. Their limbs stretch upward, slow and certain, reaching toward a sun that still hides, but less so than before. And somewhere, not far off, a bird sings, just once. Then again, a short, rising call, thin but sure. You haven't heard that call in weeks. It is not loud, but it echoes through the cave walls like a drum. Everyone hears it. No one says a word. You walk through the clearing. The patches of snow that linger in the shaded corners are shrinking. The stream is running clearer now. A rap. Learning is not something you begin and end. It moves through your life like breath. It is there in the way you tie a bundle, in the way you pack dried meat with leaves to keep insects out, in the way you whistle low to call someone from the trees. The children learn faster than you think, not because they are told, but because they are trusted. A girl no older than 6 sits by the fire and gently brushes ash over the coals, not too much, not too little, just enough to keep the heat without suffocating the flame. She does it the way she's seen her grandmother do it. She doesn't need to understand why. Her body understands. An older boy crouches by the river, watching the fish dart between shadows. He holds a spear in his hand, but does not throw. He waits. He watches. One day, he will strike true. But today, he learns stillness. The river teaches him that, just as much as the others. You remember learning too. You remember the day your hand first bled from a stone edge, and how the older woman wrapped it in soft moss without speaking. You remember the way she pressed your hand to hers, showing how the grip should be not tight, not loose, but right. You remember doing it better the next time, and the next. You remember failing, and being allowed to fail. Because, in this world, failure is not weakness. It is the start of knowing. Even the animals teach in their own way, the way a mother deer nudges her fawn forward, the way birds chirp once, twice, then fall silent when danger is near, the way a dog-like creature in the woods watches you from afar, not with fear, but with understanding. You learn to read the world by watching how it moves, how it repeats. There is a rhythm to it all. No ceremonies mark the passing of skill. No words like graduation or achievement. One day you simply do the task you once watched, and someone younger watches you. This is how memory moves forward. Not in ink, but in fingers. In eyes. In firelight. In the hush between attempts. And so, you keep doing. You keep showing. You keep passing along the rhythm of your life, not by instruction, but by presence. Your hands, worn and steady, will become another pair in the long line of hands that never needed to speak, because in this world, the hands remember what the mouth forgets. In the world you know, hunting is not a thrill. It is not painted with glory or conquest. It is not a contest of speed or strength. Hunting in your world is silence. It is patience stretched thin across hours. It is listening to the land until your breath sounds too loud and your own heartbeat feels like a storm. There is no schedule for when you hunt. You do not say, "Today we will kill." You rise, and the world tells you if the time is right, if the wind moves gently from the north, if the clouds hang low and soft over the trees, if the paths are quiet, if the last meat has grown thin on the bones. Today is one of those days. You begin before the sun is high, before the warmth has shaken loose the morning damp. The world is still cool, still slow. The others do not ask questions. They see you. Wrap your sling across your chest. Take your sharpened spear. Check the edges of your knife. They know. A few prepare to follow, not many. Hunting is not done in large numbers. Too many feet, too much noise, just enough to track, to carry, to witness. You enter the trees with your body low, your steps careful. Every branch, every stone, every print in the soil speaks. You must hear them all. The forest is not yours. You do not own it. You ask for permission with your quiet. The first hour is only walking, watching, feeling the ground beneath you. You pause often, not from weariness, but to see better. A broken twig tells a story. A patch of flattened grass says something slept there. Fresh scat by a tree root means something passed through. You kneel, you touch it, still warm. Your voice is absent, your body is alert. The others with you do not speak. One raises a hand, points with two fingers. Their tracks in the mud, not deer, not pig, something smaller, but many together. Perhaps they'll lead to something more. You follow not with haste, but with care. The way water follows the curve of stone. You bend where the tracks bend. You move when the world allows it. Then you see it. Far off, a deer, standing still, half shadowed by tall grass. Its ears twitch, but it has not seen you. Not yet. Its body is still, a statue of breath and bone. You lower yourself slowly, one knee at a time. Your chest presses to the ground. You wait. 1 minute, 2, 10. You do not move. The others stay low behind you. The deer shifts. Its head lifts. It turns slightly to drink from a shallow puddle, nose dipping low, shoulders softening. It trusts this place. You wait longer. Your spear is in your hand, balanced, silent. You steady your breath. If your body shakes, it is not from fear, but from the weight of knowing that this act is sacred. And then only when everything aligns, when the deer breathes out, when the wind moves away, when the spear feels like part of your arm, you rise gently and throw. You do not see it fly. You hear it land, a sharp sound, then silence. Then the others move. You follow. The deer is down, not dead yet. Its legs kick once, its eyes wide, staring at nothing. You kneel beside it. Place your hand on its flank. Speak no words, but in your mind there is thanks. You press the stone knife gently to its throat, swift, certain. The body stills. There is no cheer, no celebration, only quiet, only breath, only stillness. You sit back on your heels. Blood soaks into the grass. The forest is not disturbed. It has seen this before. It accepts this moment. The others lower their heads. One touches the deer's shoulder, a silent gesture. Respect. You begin the work, not quickly, not carelessly. You cut with knowledge. You do not take more than you can carry. You do not waste what was given. The hide will warm someone. The bones will shape tools. The meat will feed the fire and the circle. The tendons will bind. The teeth will be carved. Everything is used. Nothing forgotten. By midday, you are walking back, your sling heavier now. your chest quieter, your mind full but not loud. You have taken life, but not with anger, not with cruelty, with rhythm. With reverence, you step out of the trees, the wind greets you, and in its voice, you hear nothing but calm. Before the tongue found shape, before sounds became symbols, and symbols became lines carved in stone, there was still language. There was still meaning. There were still things said clear, full, impossible to misunderstand. The language of your world is not spoken in long sentences. It lives in your eyes, in your hands, in how long you hold a gaze, and when you choose to break it, in the way your shoulders shift towards someone or away, in breath, in waiting. The cave is quiet tonight. The fire burns in a low curl, its heart steady and warm. The meat from the deer roasts slowly, crackling at the edges. The smell fills every fold of fur and every corner of the stone walls. The children gather close, not to be taught, but to witness, not to be entertained, but to understand. They do not ask questions. They watch. Across from you an old man sits, legs folded, hands resting open on his knees. He does not speak. He has not spoken in years. But when he lifts his palms slowly with fingers bent in a familiar shape, everyone watches. Everyone understands. He is telling something. Not a story of plot or character, but a memory, old and deep. He points to the fire, then to the stones, then to the meat. He places two fingers to his lips, then holds them out, palm up. Thanks, not in words, in gesture. The cave is still. You know what he means. You saw him do the same gesture long ago. When a hunt failed, when food was scarce, when the fire barely lived and the cold crept in, you remember the shape of his hand. And there comes a time after the cold has lifted its weight, after the green has returned in scattered patches, after the silence has softened, when your body begins to lean outward again. Not just to gather, not only to survive, but to move, to stretch your limbs across new places, to walk where you have not walked in moons, to see again what lies beyond the bend of the stream, the ridge of the hill, the stand of distant trees. You do not call it travel. You do not have a word for migration. These are ideas for later people. You simply go, because the land allows it again, because the warmth has returned, because your body remembers paths carved in years before, because your eyes hunger now not just for food, but for distance. And so, one morning, before the sun has fully cleared the hill, you leave, not alone. Two others join you, one carrying a basket, the other a bundle of tools tied with sinew and bark. You carry your own pack, light but enough. Dried meat, a sharp flake of flint, a length of twine, a flat piece of hide to kneel on if the ground grows damp. Your feet are wrapped in softened leather, not new, not strong, but familiar. They have walked this season before. They will again. The forest looks different now, not just brighter, wider. The branches are beginning to leaf. Light dapples the floor, speckling your arms. Your face, you follow no marked path, but your steps are sure. You remember where the ground slopes gently toward the valley. You remember where the stones shift underfoot, where the old beehive rests, where the stream parts around a tall oak like it's bowing to it. You do not rush. You move with the world, not against it. The air is full of sound again, not the low hush of winter wind, but the overlapping songs of birds returning to their nests. Their music is not for you, but you hear it all the same. It reminds you that the land is alive. It reminds you that you are part of it. Along the way you find traces of others, not people yet, but their presence. A stump, clean-cut and blackened from a fire built many weeks ago. A scatter of bones, stripped clean and sun-bleached, ranged just so, not animal work, human, a sign, not a threat, not a welcome, just a message. We were here. You pause, crouch, place your palm on the earth. It still holds their warmth, faint but real. You nod once, not to them, but to the space, then rise again. By midday you have passed through two familiar valleys and crossed a narrow stretch of marshland, stepping lightly from one flat stone to the next. The sun rests higher now, and your shoulders begin to sweat. You stop to drink from the stream, using a cupped hand, letting the cold water run between your fingers before bringing it to your mouth. You rinse your face, then sit for a while beneath a tree whose bark peels in wide, curling sheets. You share food without words, dried fish, a few thin slices of smoked root, leaves that tingle the tongue. There is no fire, no ceremony, just silence, just rest, just the quiet hum of distant wind moving through grass. Then, when the breath feels steady again, you move on. The world opens further with every step. There are places you know by memory, curved hills where animals often pass, clearings where certain herbs grow thick in early spring, rocky shelves where small game sometimes shelters. And then there are places you do not remember, or perhaps you have never known them. You reach one such place just before evening, a small rise in the earth, scattered with pale stones and tall grass, new to your eyes. The light falls here at an angle you've never seen. It glows across the tips of the grass, turning them gold. A fox moves along the far edge of the field, unbothered by your presence. You stop, not to decide, but to feel. This is a good place to stay. You set your packs down, not with relief, but with ritual. The others do the same. A fire is not built yet. It is too early. The ground must be checked. The wind must be read. But you sit now, legs stretched out, hands resting on your knees. You look at the horizon, far off. The land rolls into gentle blue hills. Somewhere beyond them, others walk, too. Others move across the world, not unlike you, gathering, learning, stepping forward. You do not think of territory, of borders. You think only of space, of time, of how far the land goes, of how quiet it can be even when full of life. The evening deepens. One of your companions hums just a low thread of sound, carried on the breeze. You feel it in your chest more than your ears. The first star appears, faint, pale, above the trees, and the fire is built. You sit close. You are farther from home than you've been in many weeks. But you do not feel lost. You feel the world breathing again. And you breathe with it. You do not expect to see others, but the land does not belong to you. It never has. It opens when it wishes, and sometimes, when the time is right, it opens not only to food or water but to other lives. You rise at dawn, wrapped still in the warmth of last night's fire. The ground is dry. The sky above is pale with the color of a waking world, soft blue melting into the ash of morning clouds. The trees are still, listening. The wind is gentle, tugging softly at your hair as if to say, walk now, go further. You move silently, not out of fear, but respect. You know you are not the only one who walks these hills. You are not the only one who follows the water, who watches the stars, who places stone before fire. And today, for the first time in many moons, you are reminded of that. It begins with a sound, not the rhythm of birds or the hush of leaves, but something deeper, a murmur, a footstep too even to be beast. You freeze. You do not reach for your weapon. Instead, you kneel close to the earth and listen. The breath of the forest is steady. The sound is real. Someone is near. They emerge from the other side of the clearing. Two of them, moving slow, open-handed, wrapped in hide like you, faces weathered by the same winds. They pause at the edge of the tall grass. They have seen you to. No one speaks. There are no words yet to bridge the spaces between your names, if names exist at all. But your bodies speak clearly. You stand, slow and unthreatening, one hand open, palm toward the sky, a gesture older than language. I am not here to take. They do not run. They do not shout. They nod once, and the space between you becomes a shared space. You move forward together, but not too close. You watch their faces, their stance, the way they glance toward one another, not fear, not yet trust. Something else, curiosity, caution. You offer first. You pull a dried root from your pouch, harsh, knotted, but edible, and place it gently on a flat stone between you. Then you step back. You do not speak. You do not point. You simply wait. One of them steps forward, not the younger one, but the older, his face carved deep with years, his hands strong but slow. He kneels, inspects the root, then reaches into a pouch at his side and produces something small, a cluster of dark berries, wrapped in a piece of leaf. He places them beside the root. He nods, you nod back. Trade. Not of wealth, not of power, but of life. The second one, a woman with strong arms and quiet eyes, reaches down and draws a circle in the dirt. You watch. She places a stone at one side. You understand. A mark of where she comes from, a memory in the soil. You respond in kind. You squat beside her and draw your own sign, a curved line, like the bend of the river that runs near your cave. Then you add a small dot where the sun rises. You look up. She has seen. She tilts her head, just slightly, enough to say, I know this place. No one claims anything. You simply share what you carry, what the season allows. They offer a sharpened bone, all polished smooth. You run your thumb along it. Feel its weight, its honesty. In return, you give them a bundle of dried fish, smoked low and long back in your cave. Their noses lift, the smell speaks for you, the sky climbs, light spreads, the air warms. You sit still apart, still watchful, but together, a loose circle, formed not by invitation but by presence. Words never spoken, but meaning pass hand to hand, eye to eye. Eventually they rise. There is no handshake, no farewell, just a nod, just the echo of shared breath. Just a glance back as they disappear into the trees, and in their absence, the place remains changed. The earth remembers the footsteps, the stones hold the warmth. The fire that was built in their presence still smolders, low and red. You sit beside it and close your eyes. You think not of what was traded, but of the silence shared, the space held, the lids that brushed gently against yours and passed again into the world. The circle grows, not loudly, not quickly, but deeply, and you feel it. You are not alone. There is a moment, often quiet, often solitary, when the hand reaches for something more than survival. Not food. Not fire. Not shelter. But mark, a line drawn in ash, a swirl pressed into wet earth with the tip of a finger, a handprint left on the wall of the cave, outlined in red dust. Not to signal. Not to trade. Not to warn, but simply to say, I was here. I lived. You do not remember the first time you made a mark. Maybe it was a circle in sand when you were small, tracing the path of the sun as it moved across the sky. Maybe it was the shape of a fish on a stone scratched in when the catch was good and you wished to honor it. Maybe it was nothing at first, just the feel of pigment between fingers, the curve of your wrist in motion, but something stayed with you because you do it again and again. The cave wall receives your hands like a second skin. It is cool in the morning, warmed by firelight. It has seen more seasons than your body ever will, and yet, when you touch it, it softens just slightly, enough. You begin with ochre, a soft red-brown powder, ground from stone and carried in a small bowl of hollow bone, mixed with spit or fat or water when the river is near. It stains your fingertips. You do not mind, it is part of the process. You choose the wall just beyond the fire's edge, where the light reaches, but only just. You sit before it unfolded. A bundle of reed brushes beside you, though more often you use your fingers. Sometimes even a feather, if one has been found. You do not sketch, you do not plan. You let your hand move, a curve, a line. Another. The shape begins to form, not perfect, not lifelike, but full of meaning. A deer, perhaps, its legs long and thin, head tilted as if it listens. You do not care if it is realistic. That word does not exist. It only matters that it feels right. Beside it, you add dots, 5, then 6 in a circle. Perhaps they represent the herd. Perhaps they are the days since the last hunt. Perhaps they are nothing. But your hand says otherwise. Other marks live here, too. Some were made before you were born. Dark smudged lines, a jagged spiral, a set of symbols that no one now remembers. They are not erased. They are never erased. New marks are made beside them, never over them, because all marks matter. All carry something forward. A child comes to sit beside you. She watches, her head tilted, legs crossed. She does not ask questions. She only observes. You hand her a bit of pigment. She presses her palm to the wall, lifts it away. A print remains, tiny, lopsided, faint, but hers. She smiles. And that is enough. The others do not crowd around. But later, when they pass by, you see them glance at it. You see their eyes linger. Just a moment longer than necessary. The wall holds attention, not because it demands it, because it keeps it. You add more over the days. The outline of a hand, the arc of the sun, a series of dots following the path of the river as seen from above. You do not know who might see these later. Perhaps no one. Perhaps only time. But still, you make them, because the world outside is wide, and days vanish without trace, because hunger fades, because voices fade, but marks stay, even as they weather, even as they darken, even as no one remembers who made them. Or why they remain, and so do you, in that shape, in that swirl, in that line, still drying in the smoke-thick cave air. You lean back and look at the wall, not for praise, not for approval, but for reflection. You see your life there, not explained, but held. You are a mark, and you are leaving them. There are no names for the stars in your world, no charts, no constellations mapped in ink or passed down in books, but you know them. You've always known them. You know them not by numbers, but by presence, the one that rises just before dawn in the coldest months, bright, sharp, like a spear of white fire. The one that hovers low above the western ridge, orange and patient, sinking only after the others have long disappeared. The small cluster that dances above the trees in mid-spring like embers scattered into the dark. You do not name them, but you feel them. You know when they return and when they leave. The sky speaks not in language, but in rhythm, and you listen to it. Night, long after the fire has burned low and the circle has fallen into breath and sleep, you walk quietly from the cave. Your feet know the path. You do not stumble. The moon lights the way, or if not the moon, then the stars, or if not the stars, then the memory of them, folded into your body like an old song. You step into the clearing. Above you, the sky unfolds. Not loud, not fast in the way later minds will describe it, but close. Intimate. Like the underside of a great hide stretched over the world, penetrate with holes through which light escapes. You sit, you say nothing. There is nothing to say. The sky speaks, and you are listening. A streak of light breaks across it, silent, sudden. A line of white fire drawn by an invisible hand. You do not flinch. You watch. You have seen this before. You do not know why it happens, but you know what it means. Change. It always means change. Perhaps rain. Perhaps a birth. Perhaps nothing at all, except that the world is still moving, and you are still under it. You lay back. The earth is cool beneath you, damp, soft with the weight of new grass. You watch the stars without searching. You do not look for them. You simply look with them. They are not points. They are not objects. They are moments, memories, echoes of fire from a time before you were born. Sometimes the sky goes dark all at once, a sudden hush. A silence so deep it presses on your chest. The moon, full only moments before, vanishes. You see it happen, a slow shadow swallowing the light, not like nightfall, but like something more deliberate. You don't scream, you don't run, you kneel. You place your hands on the ground, because the sky is speaking, and when it speaks so loudly, so clearly, you do not try to speak back. You listen. The elders watch the heavens more than anyone. They wait before dawn and sit still for hours, eyes turned upward, breath slow, not seeking meaning in patterns but waiting for patterns to speak. And they do. The first fog in summer. The ring around the moon just before the snows return. The way the stars flickered differently on the night before a storm. These are not omens. They are not warnings. They are reminders that you are part of something far beyond your skin. That the sky remembers you, even if you do not remember. The sky. In the morning, you speak of it. Not in stories. Not in myths, but in quiet exchanges. The moon was gone last night, someone says, while scraping bark from a branch. You nod. I saw the stars dance. Another adds, you smile. You do not ask what it means. You already know. It means you are here. Still. Under the same sky, moving with it, breathing with it. Waiting for it to speak again. There is no word for death in your world. No fixed name. No sharp syllables to hold it in place. But it is known, it is felt, it is carried in the chest like a stone wrapped in wool. Not jagged, not loud, but present, always present. When someone is gone, it is not shouted. It is not explained. It is understood in the way a fire understands when the wood will not catch, in the way the river knows when it must rise. You do not weep right away. You sit, you stay still, you notice the shape of the space they leave behind. The missing warmth in the sleeping circle, the silence where their laugh used to rest, the bowl they carved still hanging by the fire pit, the stone they used still worn smooth by the memory of their hand. The grief does not crash through you. It pulls, it seeps. It softens your knees as you walk. It lingers in your fingertips when you stir the ash. Others notice without needing to be told. One woman reaches for your shoulder as you pass. She does not grip, she does not speak. Her hand rests there for the length of a breath. Then another. Then it falls away, leaving its warmth behind like an ember. That is enough. That is everything. A child draws close, not to ask, but to be near. They lean their head into your side while you sit by the fire. You place your hand lightly on their back. You both watch the flames, saying nothing. Grief is not ceremony in your world. It is not always marked with stones or paint or words carved into wood, but it is honored. It is seen, sometimes. The body is burned, other times. It is buried, sometimes. It is wrapped and placed high among the branches of a tree where birds may sing over it. There is no rule, only rhythm, only what feels right in that moment. Today the body is carried to a place just beyond the trees, where the moss grows thick and soft. It is not far, but the walk feels long. You do not cry out, you walk in silence. Each person behind the other, hands resting on the shoulder. Front, the sky is gray but still. The air holds its breath. At the place of parting, you lower the body gently, not into a grave, not into fire, but into space, a shape in the earth made ready by careful hands. You sit on it. You do not speak. You do not sing. Instead, each person lays something down. A stone, a bone, a feather, a carving, a piece of themselves that carries memory. You place a bundle of dried herbs, the ones that always gathered, always held up to your nose with a laugh. You crush it gently in your fingers before laying it beside their chest. The smell rises. It holds something of them. Later, the earth will cover them slowly, softly, layer by layer, not to hide them, but to hold them. The forest will reclaim. That is its way. That is the agreement. In the days after, the cave feels quiet. not empty, but aware. The fire crackles lower. Laughter takes longer to return, but it does return, because the shape of grief is not only sorrow. It is memory. It is presence. It is the way your hand still pauses above their bowl before choosing another. The way your ear still listens for their step, even though it no longer comes. The way the ear shifts when you pass the place where they used to sleep, and when you finally speak of them, you do not say their name. You say, they knew how to find the sweet roots early, or they made the best binding cord, or this stone this was theirs, and the others nod, and no more is needed. And when the wind moves through the trees at night, you listen, harder, just in case, just to feel close again, just to remember the shape they left in you, not gone, not vanished, just changed, just carried, just loved. Still, they are always watching. Even when you think they aren't, from the edge of the fire circle, through the folds of fur behind the half-closed lids of eyes that pretend to sleep they watch. Their hands are small, their legs unsteady, their questions silent, but their memory is deep. The children do not learn because they are taught. They learn because they exist inside the rhythm. They are born into the hum of scraping flint, the hiss of steam over roots, the soft slap of wet hide laid flat to dry. They hear these things before they understand them. They imitate without meaning to. They carry the oldest truths without knowing they hold them. One child sits near the fire, legs crossed, hands stained with ash. She does not ask what to do with the stick in her hand. She turns it slowly, as she's seen done 100 times, watching the coals, waiting, testing. Another crouches near the stream, stacking stones in a circle that mimics the shape of the hearth. He isn't building fire. He's remembering it. Even as he plays, the adults do not correct them. They do not give instructions. They do not say, do this. They let the children watch. And because of that, the learning is deep. It does not sit in the mouth or the ears. It seeps into the fingers, into the knees, into the shoulder muscles, becomes the body's memory. A small girl drags a length of sinew through her teeth to soften it, then twists it clumsily into thread. She drops it halfway through. It frays. She shrugs. She starts again. There is no scolding, no praise, no tally of attempts, only motion. The same motion, again and again, until her hands remember. An older boy follows silently behind a woman gathering plants. He does not ask the names. He mimics the way she touches the leaf, rubs it between thumb and finger, brings it to her nose. He sees what she discards. He sees what she keeps. She never explains why, but she nods when he does the same. That is enough. There is a boy who speaks little. Some think he cannot. Others think he chooses not to. But he watches the sky. He knows which stars rise first, which vanish last. He mimics the call of the small O with startling accuracy. He draws marks in the dust with his fingers' lines. Circles, dots. He returns to them each morning, changing only one. Then another. Then another. The adults say nothing. But one by one, they begin to notice. The pattern means something, not because it is spoken, but because it stays. One child is drawn to the fire itself. She sits as close as is allowed, eyes wide, watching the way the flames curl around bark, the way smoke rises and clings to hair and hide. She learns to feed it gently. She learns to stir the coals with the long bone that leaves no mark. She learns to carry a glowing ember to the next fire circle wrapped in dry. moss, her hands trembling but sure. When she sets it down and it catches, the warmth blooms again. No one claps, but they all feel it. In that moment, she becomes part of the chain. A small boy sharpens a stick not because he needs it, but because he saw someone else do it. The point is to blunt. He tries again. His wrist remembers the angle. His shoulders learn the pressure. The stick breaks. He tries another, and another. There are children who cannot sit still, who tumble through the grass, who shriek when the sun touches their face. They throw stones, chase birds, splash water, until their hides are soaked and their feet muddy. But even in play, they are watching. Even in chaos, they learn. They mimic the cry of the hunter. They chant rhythms they've heard in the dusk. They stack bones and stones and feathers into shapes no adult taught them. Shapes that still make sense. Shapes that echo the fire, the stars. The sleeping circle, at night, when the others rest. A child draws spirals on the cave wall. Not large, not meant for attention. Just quiet spirals in the ash. She presses her palm next to them. Small, warm, alive. She does not say, "This is who I am." But the mark says it for her. And the wall remembers. The cave holds it, like it held the stories before her. Like it will hold the ones to come. The children are not separate from the past. They are the past carried forward. Not with effort, not with burden, with breath, with instinct, with play. They do not try to preserve. They simply continue. And through them, the fire never dies. Through them, the first stories are told again, this time with laughter. This time with stumbling words and crooked spears. This time with small hands, dirty knees, and wide, open eyes that remember everything. The path back is never the same as the path out, even when your feet fall in the same places. Even when the trees curve the same way, even when the stones beneath you are familiar, and the streams hum old songs you have changed. You are heavier now or lighter. You carry more than what's in your hands. The long walk home begins not with motion, but with a pull, a quiet feeling in the gut, a stirring in the bones. The way you wake one morning on cool moss, and before your eyes open, you already feel it. It's time, not because someone calls, not because anything is missing, but because something inside you leans back toward where you began, where the fire still lives, where the sleeping hides are stacked, where your name is not spoken aloud, but known. The sun is low when you begin. The air carries the scent of old leaves and the wetness of night not yet risen. Your legs ache. Faintly not with pain, but with memory. You are stronger now. Your shoulders have learned new weights. Your eyes scan the trees not for danger, not for direction, but for signs that you are still held. The land does not guide you with arrows. It guides you with feeling. You pass a twisted tree, half dead, half blooming. You've seen it before. In another season, when the snow kissed its roots, now it leans shadowed, but full of breath. You place your palm on its bark. You do not need to speak. It remembers you. You move again. The world unfolds around you not like a path, but like a familiar story. One you forgot you remembered. A bend in the river, a crooked stump, a place where a bird called once, and you answered without knowing why. The others walked beside. You not close, not far, just enough. The distance says we are not alone. The silence says we are at peace. There is no rush. The cave will be there. The fire will still glow. The others will lift their eyes when they see you. They will not cheer. They will not call your name. They will simply shift, make space, hand you something warm, and let you return. That is what home is. You think of the sleeping firs, the ones that hold your shape. You think of the marks on the wall, drawn in ochre, faded now but still true. You think of the taste of ash on your tongue, of the way the wind moves through the cave mouth and across your skin just before the fire catches. Your steps grow steadier. The birds do not scatter when you pass. A squirrel watches from a branch, tilts its head, lets you go. You pause at the crest of a low hill. Below, the world flattens for a breath. You see the line of smoke rising thinly from the place you left. It curls into the sky like a quiet greeting, not loud, not urgent, just there, like it always was. You step down the hill, the ground softens beneath your feet, you smell the old wood burning, the scent tangled with root and moss and old air. When you reach the clearing, someone is crouched by the fire. They do not turn, but their head lifts. They know it is you. You drop your bundle beside the others' leaves, flint, dried meat, gathered threads. No one asks where you went. No one asks what you saw. Someone touches your arm. Someone else hands you water. You sit. The fire is the same, but your place beside it feels newer somehow, wider, as though the world stretched just a little in your absence to make room for the story you brought back. You eat slowly, you breathe. You rest your hands on your knees and feel the heat rise through your bones. The fire does not need your words. The cave does not need your tale. The walk home was enough. It told everything. The ashes will remember your footsteps. The air will carry your scent. And tomorrow, when you rise again, your place will still be there, warm, whole, waiting, because in your world, you never really leave. You only walk far enough to know you still belong. Each person moves through the world with weight beyond their own body, not burdens, but companions, small objects held close to skin, tucked into pouches of hide or hung from sinew cords. These are not treasures in the later sense of gold or jewels, but items threaded through memory. A smooth pebble chosen on a walk long ago, a fragment of shell carried from the river's edge, a length of cord woven from plant fibers that somehow never frayed, a carved bone tipped with a symbol whose meaning is only known to the one who held it. In their silence, these things speak louder than words. You rise before dawn and find the smooth stone in your pouch, still cool from yesterday's air. You trace its curve with your thumb, remembering the moment you found it when the light struck just so, and the stone gleamed like a drop of water. You carry it now not because you need it, but because it reminds you that beauty exists in the simplest places. It reminds you that the world gives small gifts without asking, and that memory is as vital as food. Another picks up a feather caught in the rim of the cave and Tron's slender pail. The tip tipped with dark barbs. It is not a bird's best plume, but it was yours first. You pressed it to your ear and heard the wind in a new way, as though the sky itself whispered secrets into the hollow shaft. You tie it to your hair and feel a gentle tug when the breeze passes, a constant reminder that your life flows beyond your skin and into the currents of air and time. A child holds a broken awl. Its tip snapped off in a moment of learning. It is crude and sharp, its edges raw, but it carries the story of failure and of trying again. You see her cradle it as she would a living thing, her small fingers wrapping the Shaft her eyes steady. She does not see its imperfection, she sees its promise, that the things we carry become part of our own shape, even when they are cracked, are on the fire. Each person lays their small keepsake on a flat stone, bone, cord, shard, feather, stone, root. They tell no one of its meaning, they need not. The objects speak in the hush, of paths traveled, of hunger met, of wounds healed, of nights under stars, of hands held, of lives intertwined. The circle listens, the fire glows, the cave walls, etched with marks of countless seasons, receive these offerings as they have received every story, every memory, every silent testament of living. In the morning, the circle breaks. The objects return to their owners, slung into pouches, tied to belts, pressed into pockets of fur. But the act of gathering them in the quiet of night leaves its own mark, a reminder that we carry more than flesh and bone, that the world offers tokens to guide us, hold us, anchor us, that memory is not only in the mind, but in the things we choose to keep close, and in the stories they tell when words fall silent. There are trails beneath your feet that no one marked, no stones placed, no branches bent, no words spoken to name them, no signs carved to follow, yet they are there. You feel them in your ankles before you see them. You know them in the way grass parts a little easier in one direction, or how the bark of certain trees carries a faint shine from yours, of soft touches. These are not paths made by those who wanted to be found. These are paths that remember, worn by those who move softly, hunters, mothers, messengers, wanderers who walked for days without leaving a single word behind, but left presence instead. You follow these trails not with your eyes, but with your skin. You walk without knowing where your steps will lead, only that they belong. You step across a fallen log covered in moss, and the way your foot lands tells you you're not the first. The bark is worn smooth on one side. A small piece is missing, chipped off clean, not by animal tooth, but by a blade, a hand. Someone stepped here long ago, maybe many someones. You step there too, and the moss receives you. The forest does not reveal everything at once. It speaks in suggestion, in texture. The tilt of a stone, the curve of fern, the way birds fall silent on one side of the valley, but sing freely on the other. These are the signals. You read them not because someone taught you, but because the land itself teaches. There is a hollow between two hills. It fills with mist every morning, even when the sky is clear. You descend into it slowly, your hands brushing branches as you pass. A crow watches from a high limb, silent. You lower your head. You do not rush. The ground here is too quiet, too soft. You step with care. You place your foot only where the moss springs back quickly. You do not leave a print. Halfway down you pause. There, just beside a leaning tree, under the sweep of dry grass, is a pile of stones, shaped not by accident, small, stacked, very noticeable. No taller than your ankle. It marks something. Not territory, not danger, just presence, just a memory of someone else who saw this place as you do now. You crouch beside it. You add your own stone, flat, gray, cool from the shade, and you move on. At a bend in the trail, you find what cannot be coincidence, a length of bark, peeled and tied into a loop, hung from a branch. Swaying, not recent, faded, but still intact. It does not tell you where to go. It tells you you're going. These paths lead to places maps cannot find, a narrow cave behind a waterfall where the bones of birds lie in perfect circles. A glade so quiet it feels like breath paused in midair. A field littered with antlers, all facing west. A pool where the moon rests longer than anywhere else you've seen. No one guards these places. No one claims them. But when you arrive, something in the air tells you be still, be respectful. So you kneel, you place a hand on the earth. You say, nothing. You return by a different route, as is the custom, not because the first is unsafe, because you do not overuse the old roads. You leave them to rest. You leave them to remain sacred. When you reach home, no one asks where you've been. They see it in your eyes. They see the dust on your ankles, the thread of vine tied newly to your wrist, the way your silence carries weight, not weariness. And that is enough, because the paths you walked cannot be told. They can only be felt, and maybe, one day, when another follows you without knowing, without looking, they too will pause at the bend and see your stone, and add their own, and the trail will remain unseen, unspoken, alive. Before words came, before names were made, before language unfolded into long meanings and hard edges, there was breath, and where there is breath, there is rhythm. Where there is rhythm, there is song. It did not begin in the mouth. It began in the body, in the beat of foot against earth, in the sound of stone striking stone, in the hush of water over rock, and the echo of your own heartbeat when you lay alone in the dark. Song was not something made. It was something remembered. The first song is not a performance. It is not taught. It begins quietly on the wind, maybe, in the hum of a mother as she sways with her child against her chest, in the rise and fall of breath beside the fire, in the low tones of a man dragging flint across wood again and again and again, until even the fire takes up the rhythm. That rhythm becomes memory, and memory becomes music. No one sings to be heard. They sing because the feeling is too large to carry in silence. A woman gathering berries begins to hum, not because she means to, because the movement of her hands, the sway of her hips, the weight of the basket all pull the sound out of her without effort. She does not know she's singing until a child echoes her from across the trees. They sing together, not in harmony, not in structure, but in closeness. That is enough. At night, when the fire's low, and the breath of the cave slows, someone begins a tone, just one, held long, almost a sigh. Then another joins, then another. Soon the circle is full of voices, not layered, but interwoven. Some are deep, some soft, some barely more than air. There are no lyrics, only shape, only sound shaped by life, by longing, by memory that cannot be said aloud. The song rises and falls like the wind, bending around the walls of the cave, slipping between the fur-lined shoulders of those resting nearby. No one claps, no one leads. It ends when it ends, fading like mist, leaving silence behind, not as absence, but as grace. Later, when you walk through the forest alone, you hear it again. A bird calls in the same pattern. A branch creaks just so. Your feet land in time. The song is there, always there. You hum it under your breath, not even realizing. You tap it with your fingers on the curve of your leg. A child beside you matches your rhythm without asking. The first song teaches you to notice, to remember, to soothe. It is there when someone is born, when their first cry echoes back as music. It is there when someone dies, and the hum of the fire fills the cave with a sound that isn't grief, but something beneath it. It is there when the rain starts, when the deer falls, when the night is too long and the stars too far, and you need to hold something invisible that still feels warm. The song has no shape, no beginning, no end. It does not belong to anyone, yet everyone holds it. It is the rhythm of fire and water, of step and breath, of hunger and healing. It is passed from chest to chest, mouth to mouth, hand to hand, not like a tool, but like a whisper. It lives in the bones. And even when the cave collapses, and the names are gone, and the walls are dust, and the fire is forgotten, if someone sings, if someone hums while weaving, if someone breathes meaning into air without knowing why, the first song lives again. Because it never ended. Water was never just water. It was presence, it was story, it was the sound beneath sleep and the shape beneath hunger. Before the cave, before the fire, before the fur was stitched and the stone was shaped, there was water. And you knew it before you knew anything else. You knew it by feel, by scent, by sound, the soft splash of a stream over rounded stones, the rhythm of raindrops on bark, the silence after snow. These were your first teachers. You woke to the voice of water, not words, but flow, whispered motion in the near dark. It curled through the forest floor beside your camp, and reminded you the world was still. Breathing, you drank from cupped hands, from hollowed stones, from the bend of your own wrist. You did not measure it, you tasted it, trusted it. Cold meant safety, murk meant danger, bubbles meant breath. A still pool could hold the sky, a fast river could carry you far, or drown you if you forgot to respect it. You followed water when you moved, it marked the way not straight, but true. Where it went, there was food, green, game, life. When you crossed it, you left pieces of yourself behind. You remembered certain crossings for how the water kissed your knees or stung your feet, or made you float for just a heartbeat before you landed again. Children played in it, elders leaned close to it. You listened to it before speaking, because it remembered. There was a place upstream narrow, quiet, wrapped in moss where the stream disappeared into stone and sang the longest song. You did not camp there, it felt sacred, not dangerous, just deep in a way the body understood. You left small things there sometimes, a feather, a carved bead, a sprig of bitter root. Gifts without expectation. The water took them without thanks. But you knew it noticed. When the rains came, the world shifted. The pots disappeared. The fire hissed, the cave wept, and still you did not curse the water. You sat with your back to the rock and watched it fall in sheets from the leaves. Your knees tucked to your chest. You listened to it drum against. Your fur dripped from your nose, gather at your feet. It was wild, but it was clean. It reminded you that you were not the one in control. Sometimes, the river rose too fast, a sleeping place flooded. Food floated away, a child slipped. Those were the days the water asked you to remember its power. And you did, not in fear, in respect. You learned to read the soil, to smell the air before the rain came, to dig channels, to move your fire higher, to lift your bundles before sleep. You adapted. You stayed near, but not too near. You washed in it, your wounds, your skins, your shame. You stood waist deep in a still pond and let the morning mist settle over your shoulders like a new pelt. You watched your own face ripple and return. You did not name it a reflection. You just looked. And sometimes, if the wind was still, the water looked back. When someone died, you laid them near the water's edge for a night. Just one. So there. Memory could enter the current. The others stood silently, not touching, not crying, just listening, as the stream took the silence and turned it gently into motion. You returned the next day and found only footprints in the mud already softening. And you walked on. Because water does not stop. It bends, it pulls, it climbs. It disappears and returns in another form. It teaches you that nothing is ever truly gone. It just moves, even now as you drink from your hand by the fire, even now as the stream hums behind your sleep, even now as the snow melts against your palm. You know this is not just water. It is the same water that touched the bones of those before you, the same water they kept, spilled across, feared, trusted. It remembers every hand, every mouth, every birth, every leaving. You swallow, and you remember to. There are silences that fill you, silences so whole, so complete. They press softly against your skin like fur pulled snug across the shoulders. In the cave long before dawn, there is such a silence, not empty but dense. The kind of silence that gathers meaning over time, the kind that does not ask you to break it, only to feel it. You wake in the stillness before the first fire is fed. No birds yet, no wind, no words, just the deep hush of breath your own and those beside you. A child murmurs in sleep, A stone shifts somewhere across the chamber. A coal clicks as it settles into ash. Each sound is swallowed, not erased, but embraced by the quiet. There is comfort in it. You remain still, your eyes open, your hands beneath your chin, not out of fear or caution but reverence. The world moves in sound, but it begins in silence. Every action, every word, every step, every cry is born from it. And in your life, silence is not a rare thing. It is daily, it is needed, it is taught without being taught. When you sit in the forest, waiting for the rustle of prey, silence is not stillness, it is awareness. It is the bending of breath around bark, the stretch of your ears to catch a distant snap, the beat of your heart slowing so it does not disturb the air. The silence sharpens you, not like a weapon, like a root. Children are quiet when they watch the stars, not because they are told to be, but because something inside them goes still when they tilt their heads and see the sky turning, see the moon pull shadows across leaves, see that light can move in silence too. They learn that ode does not need applause,